Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Real 1%. Today, I'm joined by my man Bill. He's another Army veteran, and he's got one crazy story. So, he's from Massachusetts. Got to go Red Sox. He got the hat on, repping pretty good. He's an Army veteran, like I said. He's a suicide survivor, and his brother actually was a suicide victim. He's here doing big things. He's working on a project called Unturning Steel, which is going to be a documentary. We can dive into it a little bit later, but just a brief synopsis on that is an upcoming documentary film that features Bill as he works to provide service members with a path forward and returning home. In the aftermath of tragedy, Bill sets out on a hero's journey to help his fellow veterans bring the talents to American manufacturing. Together with the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, Bill has created a new offering that provides veterans the support and training they need to find purpose in American manufacturing. Um, you know, Without further ado, I appreciate you coming on here and sharing your story, Bill. How you doing today, brother?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, great intro. It sounds incredible. It makes me sound way cooler than I am, but I'd certainly appreciate that. Bill Leahy. I'm the founder of Renaissance Reliability, which is a manufacturing company out of Connecticut, and the Unturning Steel Project, which is what we're going to talk about today. But yeah, it's been real exciting. People have been coming from every which way to pitch in and help out, and I appreciate you having me on here to share some of the story.
No, I appreciate you, accepting the call to action. I found you, on the web on your website. I reached out to one of your colleagues. She told me to, get on the website. I filled out the form and you hit me up without ado, and now we're here and appreciate you joining the show. So, like we said mentioned earlier, you're in the Army. What made you want to join the military in the first place?
Great question. So the military tradition in my family goes back generations. A lot of us are like that. It's the same family serving for a long time. My dad was a Naval Academy graduate. He played football there, and uh, that was something I always admired and kind of got it in my head that that's what I was going to do. My dad was the measure of manliness, and I was going to make that happen. So I got recruited to play hockey at West Point, and that was my
Oh,
intro
damn.
into the Army. And I was pursuing that, but it all kind of, how it is. If you have it in your head that you're destined for something, you'll find your way into it. And that was West Point for me. So I did 4 years there, and then 5.5 years in the infantry after that. Split all my time between Fort Lewis and Washington and Fort Benning, Georgia.
Okay, what position did you play in hockey?
I was a right wing,
Okay.
and yeah, a forward mostly, but um, yeah, kind of played anything on the front line.
Okay, I left Florida when I was in excuse me, I left to Florida like fourth grade and on. So I played a little bit of roller hockey. Never got the ice hockey full effect down here. We don't have too many, um, you know, ice rinks, but they pop up a little bit. We got the Lightning, which is a pretty good team. But
Yeah.
for you growing up in Boston, like who was your favorite college team? And then did you want to go to West Point because your dad was in the Navy, and what was his thoughts of you joining the Army instead of the Navy?
Uh, oh, he loved it. I mean, it was his. The Naval Academy doesn't have a hockey team, so
Right.
that crossed him off the list. And yeah, I
Okay.
come from a long line of Marines. But my dad was infinitely proud. Like this is one of his kids going into the service academy. But there wasn't a whole lot of discussion about it. My parents were very much that let you follow your own path and make your own choices. And as a result of that, we made a lot of decisions with not a ton of information. But the West Point one was an informed decision. They flew us out for a recruiting visit with the hockey team, and I was aware of what my dad had done. And I always knew I was going to serve in some capacity. And this was just a way I could get a free college education, get 4 more years of awesome hockey in, and then go fulfill my destiny in the Army. Uh,
Absolutely. What about your time at West Point? How was that? Being a Division I athlete. Like, were you competing for ice time your freshman year? How was it from an athlete's point of view, and then also the West Point Academy itself, just as a newbie there? How was that for you?
it was one of the most humbling periods of my life. So I was playing hockey in Montana when I got recruited, and I was captain of the team, doing all this great stuff, all star, all of that. and you think you're amazing until you get placed with a whole bunch of other amazing hockey players, and then you learn really where you're at. So I was humbled by that. Academically, I thought I was super smart, and then I was surrounded by people a whole lot smarter than me. Just all of it was a really, really humbling experience, which was absolutely what I needed at that point in my life. So West Point came in right at the right time to kind of remind me that I'm not the golden boy.
Looking back on it now, what was the hardest part of schooling? You know, it's probably your freshman year, I'm assuming, but I could be wrong. Maybe it was a different year for you. And how was your guys' hockey team overall?
The hockey team was pretty good. We had a 5-3-1 record when we graduated with the Air Force Academy. So that was the most important thing. And we won one regular season conference championship my junior year. So we had some success. We played. I think the highest we got ranked was 16th in the nation. We got up to that. So it was good. Yeah, no, we had some guys make it to the pros and do their thing. But yeah, it was great. But the hardest time for me at the academy was actually the beginning of junior year. So your first 2 years are free, and then junior year, as soon as they call your first class to attention, that's when that commitment hits. So if you're there that day, you're looking at 2 more years at the academy, and then 5 active, 3 reserve on the back end, and it's a huge commitment.
So you're chilling the first 2 years, chilling. You know, that didn't really set in, but that first day of fall in, you're like, oh damn, I just got 8. I got pretty much 8 plus years I got to put in. What was going through your head at that point?
I had that, like, this is a serious commitment to something. It's very difficult. It's you're taking on a huge responsibility, saying you're not only going to represent the country and the military, but that you're also going to lead, U.S. soldiers. Like, that's at that point in time, you're accepting one of the greatest responsibilities that I think anybody can really take on, particularly, a young 20-something-year-old man. Like, that's huge. So that was a big commitment, difficult. But after you get beyond that, you kind of settle in, and you're like, you're going to do your time and maybe make a career out of it.
Did you want to be an infantry officer, or was that something that fell into your lap?
So, and this is a big part of the story. The dynamics between my brother and my father and I are really, like, fundamental to this project and what I've learned and what's pushed us in these directions. So yeah, it was infantry. My dad was a recon Marine. So I'm looking at this is my benchmark. I've got a recon Marine who was a football player at the Naval Academy. My brother was another great hockey player, and when he joined the Marine Corps, his career was just one of those where it's the right guy in the right place, and he's massively talented on top of it. But he started down this incredible infantry path. And as competitive as I am with my brother and everybody else, I said, well, if that's the tip of the spear, that's what I have to be doing. And looking back on it, maybe I should have explored the other branches a little bit more, because there's some very specific things that I would have, I think, loved doing, and maybe that would have changed how my career went.
Right. What was your brother's name, by the way?
Sean Patrick Leahy.
Okay. Who was better, you or Sean, at hockey? who got the upper hand, man?
We were very different players. So I played hockey. I was about 6'1", 190 when I was playing college. He was about 6'2", 230 to 250. Somewhere in there. He played defense.
He was an enforcer.
Yeah, he played defense. I played offense. So he destroyed things. I tried to create them. And it was that's how it went. And he was 4 years older than me. So he was always at that point where, he could always kick my ass.
You got Cam Neely and Ray Bork, dude.
Yeah, that's
there you go.
Yeah.
So after you got through that, real quick before we leave West Point, what would your advice be to anyone that may be in your shoes right now? They're balling out in hockey, they're doing their thing, they may want to join the West Point and get on the hockey team. And what would your advice be just to help them through the academy and ultimately succeed that height?
I think it's I would say as you're going through the decision process, and this would go for any young person that's going through anything. I would say when you make a decision, think about it holistically. I was looking at, I was getting a chance to play hockey, this, that, or the other. Like there was a lot of search criteria I had, that when this opportunity came up, I just went directly for it. So I'd say find yourself a coach and a mentor who's been through this before when you're making these big life decisions, and talk to them about all of these things. You know, I didn't think experience mattered all that much back then, but now looking back at it, I'm saying, man, I wish I would have consulted a whole lot more with some of this stuff. I do not regret my decision to go to West Point. I'm not trying to say that in any way. But there was a lot of surprises and things I should have considered before. I guess things and surprises that I should have considered that I didn't.
All right, two more I got because it just came up. Who was your biggest rival? Not a service. Who was the next biggest rival for hockey? And then give me like a crazy story or a funny memory from your time at West Point.
Oh, it's Air Force.
I know you got
Academy.
some, man.
Air
Minus
Force
them,
Academy.
minus them, dude. You got
It's,
like a
I hated. Let's see. No, I mean Air Force was, but I just hated him because there was also continuity there. So when I was playing in Montana, we were in Bozeman, Billings had a team, Helen had a team. It went from Alaska to Texas. There was all these, but for some reason or another, the team we hated the most was the Billings Bulls when I was in Bozeman, and for some reason, like 4 players for my team all went to West Point, and a bunch of players for their team all went to Air Force Academy. So the hatred for each other continued on into that. And I won't give you specific names, but it's burned into my memory. So them, but the other one we always got into it with. Mercyhurst was one. Fights were probable in those games. It was always just an interesting thing. It changed year to year, but those are the two. And then as for funny stories, so I know we had a lot of veterans listening to this. So challenge coins, near and dear to all of us. We love the things. I've got a bunch behind me. The factory we worked at this summer makes these challenge coins for us, Metalcraft Mint in Green Bay. And my absolute favorite coin I got was from the commandant of the academy. And he gave this one to me. I'll show it to you. I know the viewers can't see it, but it's a pretty cool one. So What happened was we were at practice. So this is just us out there practicing hockey. The superintendent comes on the bench, so 1-star general, and he's he's watching. And then my best friend on the team and I got into a fight. So, gloves off, helmets off, everything. And we're there fighting. And we hear from the bench, "Get over here." And I was like, "Oh, there's the commandant. We've got a general yelling at us." So we skate over, waiting to get, chewed out or whatever it was going to be. And he looks at us and goes, "Was that for real?" We're like, yeah, that's. He goes, "Oh, it was awesome." And he gave us both a challenge coin. So that's why this one is particularly special to me, because I got it for, not necessarily doing something good, but just kind of different, I guess. So, yeah, very special.
Nah, for real. That's probably the only time you'll hear a general yell and not get scolded out and actually get a coin for doing something. So I hear you. Good stories. Yeah. When you got to your first duty station, how was the transition from West Point into your unit?
Oh, another humbling experience for me, and that's kind of the trend. And one of the things we recognize when we're developing this program, it's these periods of transition in our lives that are really, put us at the greatest risk to, stress and eventually suicide at that. But yeah, my first unit went to a striker unit in Fort Lewis, Washington. They were actually in Iraq when I arrived. There was like a month left of their deployment. So when I came in, it was rear detachment. Very interesting. When I say I was humbled, was the quality of the officers that were out there, particularly a lot of the prior service ones. That just their level of knowledge and their experience just trumped mine 100-fold. Just because they had been downrange, they had done all these different things, and I learned how much I needed to learn at that point. Yeah, so that was kind of an incredible moment. And these are sprinkled throughout my life when I realized that, yeah, I'm not as smart as I think I am. And that was one of them.
Yeah, but sometimes you think that until you get around people that are, striving for greatness and all like-minded people, and then you just get, you get humbled, like you said, and then you get lifted up, man. They say like if you're the smartest person in your group of friends, you need new friends. So essentially, if you were the
Yeah,
best hockey player around and you're not in the NHL making the All-Star team every year, then shit, I got to get around some new hockey players so I can level up to the next level, which you seem to do,
yeah,
and that's just life, man. So it's you live and
yeah.
learn and you grow. So
Well, this
what
is the thing.
go
When
ahead.
I get humbled, I'm extremely competitive, but I want to get that advantage back. So yeah, it's when they are motivating for me. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You're a competitor by heart, man. So you're gonna just try to level up as soon as you do that, which is good and great. When your unit got back and everyone fell back in, what'd you end up doing at Fort Lewis before you left out of there? Did you end up going on a deployment? Did you end up just staying stateside? How was the rest of your time there?
I stayed stateside. So they got back. And then we went, my platoon leader time was really, it was a lot of coming and going. So the guys that were in the unit that got back, it was shipping them off and getting them to where they would needed to be. And then we started the training cycle already like 6 months into my platoon leader time. So as we were wrapping up training, NTC and all that, um, they made the decision. They said they're sending all my year group over to the captain's career course. So I went to the captain's career course. And a couple months after I got there, they went off to Afghanistan. So I missed that deployment as well. So those timing things.
Not bad, man. You probably didn't miss too much. I'm sure you might have wanted to go, but not too much going on in Afghanistan. Now it's all been seemed to be done for nothing over there and given away. But that's a whole different story.
No,
Would you
I was, yeah, I will say this. I was devastated at the time not being able to do that. You train for so long, all your friends are out there doing it and whatnot. And yeah, it was hard, but reflecting on it now, I lost a brother, I lost a lot of friends and all that stuff. And all of them are dealing with, the repercussions of deployment. Um, and then, if I miss out on that, but I get to spare my kids and my wife and my family any other kind of heartache, then I'll take it. And I have the opportunity to now to really pay it forward and do some great things for the veterans that you know, did go to combat. So yeah, yeah, it's a hard thing, but it's a good thing.
yeah, double-edged sword, but at least you're here making a difference now, and that's what matters, man. So when what did you do after you left Fort Lewis? I know you mentioned it at the beginning, but I missed what you said.
I went out to the captain's career course. So back to Fort Benning, spent my time there, had my son. Um, and then yeah, finished that up and went right back to Fort Lewis. My wife is a social worker in Seattle, and so her career, we wanted to get back to that if possible. And at that time, we had made a decision that we were going to be exiting the military. So they let us go back to Fort Lewis and finish out our time there.
Okay, how was it becoming a father?
You know what? Yeah, man, it it's awesome. It really forced me to kind of grow up and
Mm,
it really quickly and in a meaningful way. Yeah, it was another one of those things. It's just another transition in life. You go to bed one thing, you wake up the next day, you're a father, and you got to figure all that out. But it was incredible. We had another one, so wasn't too bad. And but yeah, we've closed up shop on that. 2 kids is what we're stopping with. But no, it's an incredible thing, and life is better with them.
absolutely. What are your kids' names?
Liam and Lily, 7 and 11, right now. They're about three and a
Are
half
you
years apart, and yeah,
one and one,
they're
one
fun.
of each, man? You good to go?
That's it. That's what I tell people. I got 2 kids and a vasectomy. That's it.
There you go, dude. I don't blame you, man. So
Oh,
that's
and I'll tell
cool.
you this: anyone who wants to get any soldier, veteran, or whatever, if you tell the VA you want a vasectomy, that's the thing they will do quickest. They'll get you on the books tomorrow. It works. It's the fastest thing
Oh,
in the VA.
damn.
Yeah.
That's the fastest way in the door and out the door with something done for the VA.
100%. They're like, no more dependence if we could avoid it.
Yeah, man, that's more money for them to shell out, right?
Yeah.
So why did you have the mindset switch? Was it because you had your kid? You're like, you know what, this isn't really the life we want to live, and you try to just transition out from the military. And also, what was your game plan for exiting the military if you had one at the time?
And this is either now we're getting to the good stuff, and this is when like the project that we're working on really started to take shape. So exiting out of the military, I know you've done it. We've a lot of us have done it, and it's a very difficult transition. I think it's one of the most difficult transitions you're going to have. Is you spend all this time getting transitioned into something different. Tons of money, tons of time, resources go into preparing you to be something else. And on the back end, an equivalent amount of resources and time and dedication to it is not afforded. It's the expectation of a service member that you can leave this one, institutionalized life and step into the civilian world right away. And I approached it that way. So again, as another point in my life where I was like, I wish I would have had mentors and coaches and people I could have talked to, and they were there. I just didn't use them. But I went into it really without a clue. So I have, a degree from West Point and all that, but it was a degree I had no intention of using. I had military experience, athletic experience, and that was kind of it. And like many veterans, I kind of pigeonholed myself and said, well, I was an infantry guy, so I can lead, which translates into project management or leadership of some kind. And so that's how I approached it. Went through one of those services, Bradley Morris, I believe it was, did 12 interviews in a day at a DoubleTree, and got offers. And I had an opportunity to go work in Eugene, Oregon, at a sawmill there as an engineering supervisor, and it made the most sense geographically and all that stuff. So I took the job, went down there and got started, and that was an interesting piece too. So. And I think this happens to a lot of veterans. People want to hire veterans. They want to. They believe it's the right thing to do. There's, there is incentive there. It feels good. It's American heroes and all that. People want to hire them. But you can't just hire veterans because you want to hire veterans. There needs to be a specific, matching of culture, vision, mission, community, all of these things that we need to consider and make sure that are in place before we choose an employer or a career. And that was something I learned there. So I went into the job. I took on a job description or a job title that I knew nothing about. So all of a sudden, I'm reliability engineer is what I become. No job description, no one at the company that had done this before, or at least at the site. There was some reliability folks on the national scale, but really it was, hey, figure this out on your own. And stepping out of a military environment where you have a manual that tells you how to do exactly everything for every minute of your day, and without this, this structured counseling system and all this stuff, that's the stuff I was really missing and yearning for from the military. And I said, well, why is this not getting structured into everyday American business? And I think the answer really is mentorship it's a lost art. Coaching and mentorship, really counseling, is a lost art in regular business. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, and it's one thing that people will take off their schedule before anything else. So that's when I made that realization that there has to be the transition has to be more deliberate. It has to be more structured, and there needs to be a whole lot more people involved in helping us make these great, really, really significant decisions when we get out. The last thing I heard of it was 7 careers a veteran will have before they find their forever home. That's crazy. It's
That's
more
wild to say
uncertain.
that, right?
Yeah, more uncertainty, more transition, more of the things that really lead to bad situations. So if we set the conditions before people transition out of the military, we give them community certainty and purpose, then the risk of that transitional stress and suicide plummets. And that's what we've designed the program to do.
Yeah, and they set those conditions when you're in the service, so why not do it while you transition out? You know what I mean? It's like And that's a common denominator for a lot of people that come on and share their story is a lost sense of purpose. I
Yeah.
experienced it, dude. I probably had at least 15 different jobs, man, in the first couple years that were not. I mean, it's hard to say the least to find your home, and then again try to support yourself and a family, or a pregnant girlfriend, or even yourself at 12 or 13 or $14
Yeah.
an hour. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of variables that come into play, and I wanted to rewind just a little bit and ask you, what would you have done differently if you could go back and transition again now, and your advice to people that may still be in the service or yet to serve? And also, did you ever have anything to do with the VA? Did you get VA benefits locked in, or was that something that wasn't even on the spectrum once you transitioned out of the service?
Yeah. So what I wish I would have done differently, or is really this was the point I wanted to make. It's not that the Army doesn't offer specific services and all of these things. I don't necessarily think they make them as accessible as they possibly could be, or educated as much as they do. We have the TAPS week, or whatever it's being called these days, which is fantastic, and it exposes us to a lot of the things that are offered out there. But in that point in time, it really is, you're focused so much on getting out and what that's going to look like. I don't think people slow down enough. So my advice to anyone that's transitioning out into the future or whatever, one is, if you're interested in working in manufacturing, reach out to me. I know we're going to get to the program, but what our program does is we will transition you out of service into manufacturing before you get out of service. So you're completely comfortable. You have the skills, the certification, the employer, and the community you want to move into. We will have that established for you before you leave. So that's the first thing. The other one, if you don't use a service like us, explore all the different things that the VA, all these military and veteran nonprofits are offering. There are tens of thousands of them out there that are offering things to help you transition. Look into it, explore them, find them. But check with us first. Say that.
Heck yeah, dude! You got to plug yourself in, man.
Yep.
So I got to ask you real quick: did Sean's incident come while you were in the service or when you were out?
It happened only, just about 13 months ago. Is that so? It was
Okay, so
December
that's more recent.
2022. Yeah, and we've done all this work in the meantime. So we went from like I said, this is Renaissance Reliability was the original company I started in. It's a manufacturing consultancy. So companies hire us to come on site with them or train remotely. And if they are having throughput, quality, or any kind of issues with their production equipment, so if it's not meeting, function, we come in, use our continuous improvement models and our different engineering sets, and we improve those metrics for them. And we also train uh, young team leaders and all the way up to the director level on how to do these things better. So we're a manufacturing consultancy. That was the first bit, and I was dedicated to that. And what became really the mission for that one was protect and advance Made in America, and find ways that we can, fix these cultural issues that I was seeing, the mentorship and coaching stuff that was absent, the focus on reliability that wasn't there, all of those things. That became my purpose behind that company, was to lift Made in America. And I was heading that direction. And the idea for a film came about like 6 months before my brother's death. I saw my wife and I was like, you know what, I'm going to make a film. And she's basically, you're nuts. What are you talking about? This. I said, I want to get the attention of legislators, so government leaders, academic leaders, all these folks that have a stake in manufacturing, that need to know that we can do it a whole lot better, and we have the skills to do it and the resources within U.S. manufacturing. It's more about being more resourceful. So that was it. We were going to make a film. And then my brother transitioned out of the military again, fall 2022. He had been reactivated and went and helped out at Fort Dix when they were bringing Afghan refugees back. So he was there and did that. So it was his second transition out, and he was looking for work in the Green Bay, Wisconsin area, and found a job at Metalcraft Mint. So my brother was entering into manufacturing. And he was having the same kind of experience. Like, what does this mean for me? What am I supposed to be doing? All of that. And I said, well, we have this program that we're looking to start up. How about we do it with veterans? You be our first person. We'll take you through the process, see if it works. We can get you the information on the stuff you needed. And we were headed in that direction. We were talking with his employer and all that. And unfortunately, December 1st, 2022, he took his life. And that stopped our work together, but it did not stop our mission. So the owner of that company, Jerry Moran of the Metalcraft Mint, he and I got together and we said, no, we still need to do this. So we started, and that's it. So we went from concept to delivery. We started our first group 5 months later. And that's an incredible thing because we used the SkillBridge program. Are you familiar with SkillBridge?
A little bit, but fill them in on it.
Yeah, so SkillBridge is, in my personal opinion, the most brilliant offering that they've ever come up with for veterans. And the way it works is companies that are interested in, training or integrating veterans or transitioning service members into the civilian world, they can submit a curriculum to the Department of Defense, Chamber of Commerce, really SkillBridge. And if they get certified, so it's them saying that the DoD letting all the chain of command know that this is a good program. It will help this veteran transition and get them the career that they need. So it took us 4 months to get that done. So the major portion of the first part was getting accredited. And I'm very proud of this because it took other groups, big, giant, powerful defense contractors who should have president on speed dial. It took one of them 14 months to get it done. And our little old company was able to do it. And we did it through hustle. That was it. We found, through a family friend, we got in touch with the law firm representing SkillBridge, and they worked some magic for us. But it was just a lot of effort. So SkillBridge, once you're certified, transitioning service members up to 6 months before they transition, or ETS, they can come and train in one of these programs. And the best part is they actually get orders to do it. So the chain of command issues.
You get like 6 months almost to get on there. Yeah. Yep. Actually, I know I've met Marcus and Thomas, and they run the Legion Vets, and they have a big SkillBridge program. So I have to plug you in with them. Thomas is coming on tomorrow to do his podcast, and I think they have like thousands of veterans in the queue. So maybe people that are interested in manufacturing, you could get them under your wing and just keep making stuff happen, man. Like,
we would love that.
Heck yeah, dude, let's do it. And I'm sorry to hear about your brother. I know I said that before, but I mean, I appreciate you sharing that story because I feel like it's a powerful message in more ways than one. Not only did you not stop what you were doing in the tracks and sit there in sorrow, but you dealt with it and actually moved forward and progress. So respect to you for doing that. I know it's no easy feat with a death in the family, especially a sibling. So respect to you on that. I know words don't make up for the loss, but I got to show you some respect.
It's definitely a passion project. It's we find it. I've found a lot of peace in doing this. Because it's securing his legacy. It's doing a whole lot of stuff. I just it's like it had to be done, and if I didn't do it, who would? So
that's true.
We're very proud of it. But it's a great program. So we get them through SkillBridge. They come train with us for 6 months. Our other partner on this is the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. And this is important one. This is kind of one of the things that differentiates us between other SkillBridge offerings, is that at the conclusion of our program, we are matching them with a manufacturing company that wants them for the specific competencies that we teach. But they also leave our program with recognition from the University of Tennessee in the form of a certification, which is not way different than a certificate. A certificate, you can sit for a test to get one. A certification is they're executed an actual project at a manufacturing site, demonstrated results, defended those results to the university, and they are now certified. And what that does is every manufacturer in this country will know that they mean business when they get there. it's really, really cool. Yeah.
You want to talk about how you got the name when you chatted with the Navy SEAL after your brother's funeral? How you came
Yeah.
up with turning
Yeah.
steel?
Yeah. So Unturning Steel it's a very special title for us. So it was we were in the hotel lobby after the funeral. Uh, um, people drinking and sharing stories and doing all that. And I was working on a memorial video, so pouring over pictures. And I was sitting there talking with one of Sean's friends who did happen to be a Navy SEAL breacher. And we pulled up this one image of the MRAP my brother was riding in that exploded. And it was this just massive twisted steel. And looking at it, it was like, it speaks to you. It's like, this is the consequence of war. And he told me that when they would initiate a breach with explosives, he would say turning steel into the radio. And that's what this was. And I said, well, we're doing is we are undoing this. So it's unturning steel. It's that difficult. That's it. It's bringing folks back. In this case, it's not a vehicle, but it's people, and that's the representation of it. So I love the title.
You mind sharing one of the stories that you remember your brother by that comes to your head first? Maybe a funny story that you guys have together.
Oh God. I wish my mom was here. She would have a whole lot more for you. Funny story between me and my brother. I'm trying to think of one that's appropriate too. We were we were not angels growing up by any means. Um, yeah, yeah. I don't know. This is not necessarily a story or anything. Like I said, my brother was a big, massive person, very, very tough, born to be a Marine, and we were 4 years apart. So he was playing hockey in Michigan, in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, North American Hockey League. He was finishing up his third year there, and then he was going to go off and play in college. And I happened to be on the feeder team for that same town in Sault Ste. Marie. And then he left that year. He was the toughest guy in the league. Everybody, if they wanted to test themselves, they wanted to fight Sean Leahy. But he was just a killer. So he leaves. So Big Brother leaves. And it just so happened I got pulled up to that team at 16. I was very, very young. So I was one of the youngest guys in the league. Got pulled up, and everybody wanted to kick my ass. That's going to happen. So my brother was there. He was beating everybody up. He takes off. Little brother comes in. I'm about 150 pounds at the time, and I've got 20-year-old men that want to beat me up as revenge for my brother. That was it.
You need to call him back to the league.
Yeah, well, his reputation always preceded where I went. I followed in his footsteps. If he did it, I would want to do it and want to do it better. And so we ran into a lot of the same characters.
Damn, that's the only time in hockey you got beat up by like a 20-year-old. Anywhere else, that's like a assault on a minor, dude. In hockey in Michigan, you just playing the game, man.
That's it. It's all part of it. And it was fun. Another humbling time.
What's one of the main things you miss about being in the Army?
The community. I would absolutely say that. There's no other thing like it doesn't matter what base you go to. You've got friends waiting there for you, whether you have them already, because there are always going to be people or you're about to make them. You're in an environment where everybody's in the same life situation. You all have wives, most of them. I shouldn't say most of them, but a lot of them stay home with their kids. And this is what my wife says she misses most about the military. It was when you're there. It's like we had our first child as a young captain. But all of our buddies were having kids at the same time too. So it was just a really cool thing. So the wives would be able to hang out together and all that. And when you leave the service, it's a lot on you to set those things up, build your own community and that. And that's a heavy lift.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit, if you don't mind, about your own run-in with suicidal ideations and stuff like that. How did that come about, and what got you through it, overcame it, and got you on the right trajectory?
Yeah, it was a whole lot of Yeah, I was not well for a long period of my life, and it really came to, um, came to a head when I was transitioning out of service. That was the hardest thing. I was already struggling tremendously with, yeah, with alcohol at that time. So I was in a bad way. Yeah, it was just it was difficult. It was really, really difficult. And again, I can't say enough about like the help was there. So it's very much the same thing. I was doing AA and all of those things, and I was getting those help, and they were there. And had I not had people coaching me through this, I never would have come to those decisions to go and seek these things. So again, yeah, if you're transitioning out and you're struggling, there's tons of resources out there, and there's certainly people that want to help and do all these things. I would not be here if I didn't have them, looking up for me and caring for me at those points in time. And I will say this about the Army too. Um, yeah, I was having difficulties while I was still in the Army, and I believe, and I would say in general, the leadership, they do want to care about you and take care of you. And I had some just fantastic leaders that really looked out for me. Um, yeah. So it's the help is there. I guess if there's one message to send out to everybody is there's resources available to you. People want to help and they will help. You just have to seek it.
Do you think at first it was more or less like swallowing your pride and just saying, you know what, I need to go and do this? I mean, I know I struggled with that at first and left a lot on the table, and you got to go back and you backtrack instead of just getting it the first time. What was your take on it?
Yeah, I was back and forth a whole lot. Yeah, it was and it's still a struggle today. Those things don't leave you. You just learn how to you learn how to manage yourself, I guess, is a big part of it. And maybe that played a little bit into it too, is I went from high school under my parents into hockey where it's a very regimented schedule and everything like that, and to West Point even more regimented, and then to the regular service, and it's there's so much structure and everything around you, and I was feeling like I was losing that, or maybe the security of the Army. It's a challenging perspective. So yeah, I don't know
Absolutely.
on that one.
Yeah. No, I mean it's just challenging in general to say the least on all that you just mentioned. So it's not no easy task. What do you? How can someone try to help you with what you're doing now, and also what are you planning to do in the future with the project you got going on right now?
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. So we are going 100 miles an hour towards our first screening, which is going to be in Knoxville, Tennessee this March 6th. That's during the Marcon. It's the University of Tennessee's Maintenance and Reliability Conference. So that's one screening we'll do for that industry, because those people. So it's these veterans meeting the needs of manufacturing, manufacturing meeting the needs of veterans, and this is our first big touch point with the manufacturing side. We're letting them know that we're available to them. We're here to help, and what the process in which we're going about doing it. Um, yeah. So help with that one, getting the word out. If you're a manufacturer, come down, check us out. We're going to do the screening on March 6th. So that evening, we'll do the screening. There'll be a little bit of a talk. It's the keynote for the conference. And then we'll do a 45-minute panel after that. So we'll answer your questions, go through it. And then the following night, we're doing a screening on campus, more for those other pillars of society we're talking about. So government, military, academia, faith. That's when we'll open up to them and show them what we're doing on that side. Uh, yeah, so that's one. And then the other thing, if people want to help, we're always looking for funding. Producing a film, we've bootstrapped this whole thing. We did not have a ton of time to go out and look for an investment or anything like that. We took a movie, a concept to delivery in 5 months, and we took a project to the screen in 10 months. And we think we've done a pretty good job about it, but we can always use help with making the film better and marketing and that kind of stuff.
Where
So
can
if
they
you want
go to
to,
submit a donation?
If you want to find us, go to unturningsteel.com. There's tabs there for you to help. But there's ways so the best way to get in touch with us is to go to the contact us page on unturningsteel.com, and you can send a message directly to me.
Okay.
Otherwise, LinkedIn, you can find us on LinkedIn. There's an Unturning Steel page on Facebook. So you find us on any one of those. The contact us page at our website goes directly to me.
Okay. Are you ready for the first showing, the first screening? How you feeling?
I cannot wait. I cannot wait. You spend a year talking about it, for 10 hours a day, and when things start to happen and you start to see tangible stuff, it makes it feel all worthwhile. So I couldn't be more excited about it. And then with the future, what it's going to look like, we have no real idea as far as the production of the filming goes. We may do a docu-series, we may expand the current film out. That's really it. Will follow what are the needs of manufacturing, what are the needs of veterans, to make those decisions. And then as far as the program goes, we are rolling it out this spring. We'll have our first veterans through the official program going through. We did it last summer. We took 4 veterans through the program, 3 college interns, and 3 manufacturers. And we did the program this past summer through Skillbridge, all of that in Green Bay, Wisconsin, at the factory my brother was working at. And that's the subject of the film, is that program, that turnaround, that experiment, and all the lessons we learned. And we learned a ton this summer. We made a lot of mistakes, but now our program is going to be much better for it. And we're starting this spring, and my objective is by year 3 to be putting 200 veteran manufacturing experts into industry every year. There's 600,000 open positions in manufacturing right now, in U.S. manufacturing, if you think of it on those terms. And there's 200,000 veterans transitioning out every year. So it's a natural fit. They desperately need people, and manufacturing is not something people think about often. But if you look around you right now, there's a factory out there for every single thing in your office has to be made somewhere and produced. And it doesn't stop there. That goes all the way up to our nuclear arsenal and all of these other things. We work with contractors that make Hellfire missiles and all that other stuff. And if our manufacturing capacity is limited, so is our national defense capacity. And many other things.
America, dude. Why not America? Why send the jobs elsewhere when you could do it in the States, which you're trying to, bring to light as well. What were some of the key takeaways that you got from, lessons learned and stuff like that through your first cohort and just, your first go around on everything?
The first thing we learned is you cannot shoehorn veterans into something. So we changed our model. Our model originally was we were going to find veterans and then find them homes in manufacturing. And what we uncovered was it's much more effective and much more efficient to go to the manufacturers first. So what we're currently doing is, and if there's any manufacturers out here that want to participate in our program and get talent through us, hit us up. It's no cost to the service member and minimal cost to the manufacturer. But what we do is, so if the manufacturer calls me up and says, hey, we need talent, we need people for these roles, they give me the specific roles, their search criteria, if you want to call it that. We take that and then we go into our pool of veteran talent and find folks that want to live in that area, do that job, work within that, environment, that company culture, and we match them. We take a lot of time into matching them before they ever get together, so that when they come and do their project there for that 3 to 6 months, we know it's the start of a cultural fit. And by the end of those 3 to 6 months, our hope is that the employer has learned enough about this person, and this service member has learned enough about the employer where they can come into a relationship and sign that paperwork with 100% confidence that it's going to work out. Like, there's certainty in hiring and certainty in, seeking employment. You can't put a price tag on that. It's incredible.
You guys are really trying to map it out to cross all the T's, dot all the I's. Not like you just said, just, hey, I'm going to send this guy here. Well, what if he doesn't want to live in Green Bay, Wisconsin? What if he's from Florida, doesn't like the cold? You know, he's like, that's not going to work out. So you guys are really going above and beyond, which is remarkable. So keep doing what you're doing, man. And I'm sure the more people you meet, and hopefully we can plug you in with some people and just grow your network and
Yeah.
keep helping veterans, man. You're really doing, you're really doing great work, and I'm glad that you answered the call to action and got you on the show. And hopefully, people that are listening to this episode can take some key points away, or help, donate, share, spread the
Yeah.
word, or let's help each other and just change the narrative, man. Like you said, those are astounding numbers, dude. 600,000 open jobs in manufacturing, 200,000 veterans a year transitioning, man. Like, you know what I mean? That's crazy. I didn't have that
Yeah.
number. Wouldn't imagine 600,000 open, but I mean, that's a big void to fill. So let's
Yeah,
fill it.
it usually sits. It's probably changed since then, but it usually sits right between 500,000 and 600,000. It fluctuates between there. But yeah, and then the last thing I wanted to say is I want to thank all the people who have jumped in on this project and helped. It's been awesome. One company in particular I'd like to mention, which is Traction. They're out of Atlanta, Georgia. They do manufacturing technology, so sensors, hardware, and software. And they came on as our title sponsor, and they've just been incredible. Opened up the resources to us, helped us along, and helped fund the film. They're incredible. And not to mention the other ones, UE Systems, Ultrasonic Company, Limbo CMMS, Metalcraft Mint, and the University of Tennessee. Thank you all for everything. Just can't say enough.
Yeah, thank you guys for helping out Bill and his project, and hope you get a whole bunch more and make your life a little bit easier and just keep growing your mission. So I really appreciate you coming on, my boy, and sharing your story, sharing your experiences, and I hope you loving the dad life outside the military. Hopefully, you get a little bit more time at home, not getting those phone calls to have to go into work early or stay late, and you're doing it on another thing, but you're carrying on your brother's legacy, your family's legacy, and you're really doing great work. So I appreciate you coming on, and I just wanted to ask you if you had anything left that you might want to leave on the table before we sign off. But it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
I just want to validate the program with this. We received the Best Cultural Innovation Award for this year from University of Tennessee's Reliable and Maintainability Center and Efficient Plant Magazine. So we're doing things. People are taking notice. We're legitimate. If you have manufacturing talent needs of any kind, we do not limit ourselves. The way we designed the program is we work to competencies. So if it's operators, maintenance, or engineering, we can help with anything. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Yeah, I look forward to hearing the episode.
No, I appreciate you, man. And if you guys stayed on this long, hopefully you guys can reach out. We'll put all of Bill's information in the video notes. And you guys, if you need to get a question from me, I got the real 1%1 at gmail.com. You guys can, send me an email about anything if you need help on transition, if you want to come and share your story, if you want to, spread the word, spread the knowledge, let's change the narrative together. It's going to take all of us as one. We were leading in the military. You see, we got people from West Point. We got people from the Marines. We got every service coming in, trying to chime in. So I appreciate you coming on today, listening in. Continue to be great. Strive to be the best that you can. And you guys have a blessed rest of your day. Take care.